Hey guys, welcome to the forge. We're going to be doing a real quick down and dirty moccasin awl, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so there's a couple different ways we can do moccasin awls. And moccasin awls were carried pretty much through the frontier because of course they constantly needed to do upkeep on their moccasins. But if you do any kind of leather work, you know yourself, I mean, you need an awl to punch through and pre-punch all your holes to make life a lot easier. So that's what we're going to work on today. Now there's several different ways to make this. You can take anything from a nail and put it on the grinder, take a piece of wire, harden it, grind off a point, or you can forge one. So in this episode what we're going to do is we're going to take some metal round stock that I have, we're going to draw it out to a point, we're going to sharpen that point up, and then we're actually going to use a piece of antler that I have, and I'm going to show you just a little trick or technique that I use sometimes when I'm out here because I don't have a drill available to get down in that into the antler and how to set it in. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I picked the size stock that I wanted to use. It's just round stock, and all that I'm going to do is before I cut it off, I'm going to point the end. Now this is where you're going to take your time, make sure you get a good solid point on there, nice and even, and then if you need to, you can always put a file to it or take it to the grinder and get it good and sharp. And then once we get that done, I'm going to cut it to length, and I'm going to show you how we're going to seat that inside a piece of antler, so when you have to drive through something hard, you have a nice handle there. So we'll get this in the forge here, we'll get it all fired up, we'll draw it out to a point, and we'll be right back with you. Alright guys, so we drew the point out, didn't take too long, maybe a minute or two at the most, and as you can see, I mean, you can get it pretty sharp, you know, just taking your time. So now what I'm going to do is I have a piece of antler that I cut a little bit earlier with my multi-tool, and we're going to use this piece of antler right here, and we're going to actually set this awl into this antler. So I'm going to cut this to length, and basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the antler and decide how far down I can go without getting into the curve of this, and I'm going to cut it depending on how long I want my awl. So we're going to just use a basic hacksaw to do that, and then I'll show you how we're going to put our hole in our antler. Alright guys, so I basically know I want my awl to be somewhere around 4 inches in overall length as far as the metal part. Of course the handle is going to add more. So if I take a 4-inch piece and then I sort of look at my piece of antler, I'm going to know approximately where I need to cut. So we're just going to take the hacksaw, cut it off. Now, that piece is still a little hot, so I'm actually going to grab my tongs here. Okay, so what we're looking at is the overall length of my awl is going to be somewhere in here. Okay, get a little bit closer for you guys to see that. So that's going to be about the overall length. So we need to get a hole in this antler. So we're going to get a close-up. I'm going to show you what I do with that and go from there. Alright guys, so I want to get a close-up here. So what we're doing here is I have my piece of antler. Okay, and as I said earlier, there's a curve in it. So I really can't drill a straight hole. But for the most part, I have a straight area that's about 1 inch. And to me, that's more than enough to get my awl in there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my antler and I want to get it nice and level in my vise, so I could drill just straight down. I don't have to drill at an angle or anything like that. Now what I do around the forge, because I don't always have a drill, is I take a normal drill bit the size I need and I clamp it in vise grips. Okay, I'm going to put this right in. Of course you don't want to use your good drill bits for this, but what I'm doing is I'm going to take this, put it in the forge. The forge doesn't even need to be run as long as you have hot coals. This will get red hot, and then you're burning and drilling right down into this until you get your desired length. Now I usually go a little bit bigger with my drill bit, or right around the same size, because as I work that it's going to of course open up. And then we're going to make sure this fits to the depth we want. And the depth I want, basically we're just going to take our time back and forth. We might heat this up 1 or 2 times. We'll go from there and we'll see how it comes out. Alright, so as you can see, that drill bit, it gets pretty hot pretty quick. And I just want to get it in that center, and I just want to start working it. And it actually makes pretty fast work. Of it. So we'll test. Alright, so it's not going in too much, so I'm going to reheat this, retighten this down a little bit, and get back at it. So if you do this a couple times, you should be able to get the depth and the width that you want. So I'm getting actually really close to the depth just by taking a look at it. I might go a little bit deeper than I need, because when we glue it, that ain't going to hurt anything. And I'm going to show you some things that I do to this all section in order to actually get it to stick in there a little bit better with the glue. Now of course, like I said, I mean, that would work for the most part. I'm going to show you 2 other awls that I have made in the past, different ways. Alright, we're starting to get down in there. Just going to keep working that. And just like anything, take your time. If you got to do it a couple times, do it a couple times till you get to where you want with it. It's not just going to instantly happen for you sometimes. So it's starting to get pretty close to where I want it. And I'm actually just going off of, there's some soot on this. I'm trying not to wipe off. When I know that's seated, I know I'm about 1 inch. So I'll get a little bit deeper than that. I'm really set to go. You can see I'm just working it around, because you're also burning while you're doing this, as you can tell with the smoke. See how it fits? Good, we're getting real close. So I'm going to check my drill bit for my piece. So I am deep enough with my drill bit. So what I'm going to do now is just going to keep working it out, reaming it out. This is where if you had a rat tail file, you can get it in there, really open this up to where you need it. So as you can see, that's starting to fit down in there pretty well. I'm actually going to loosen this up. Just work some sides. See where we're at. All right. So we're going to keep it there for now. I'm inset about 1 inch. Now you can always, again, if you wanted to drill this, pin it, something like that, but I'm going to show you an alternative to that using all natural resources that you can gather out here. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so before we go any further, I just wanted to show you something quick. Here's all different style awls. Of course, this is the one we're making. I'll stick this inside. You can see the size of that. This awl I made, and we're going to actually be using pine pitch in a second here. But this I actually just used an old nail that I pulled out of a piece of lumber, and I put it on the grinder, filed it down, and I put it in a piece of, again, antler. This goes in with my 18th century moccasin kit. I always had that with me. It's nice and small, just enough for small tasks. This is more of a large type, as you can tell, pretty well used. Awl on the back side, we have a screwdriver blade forged into it, and we use this around camp a lot, or more of our station camp, and this is for more big tasks, prying, of course, screwdriver, chiseling, and then any kind of heavy duty awl, and that just made out of a piece of rebar. So I'm going to set them on the side just so we can move on with our project. Okay, so we burnt and slash drilled our piece of antler out, and the awl that we forged fits in quite well. So one thing that I like to do is I take a file and I cut grooves. And you can vary length, anything like that. I cut these grooves in just because when we put the glue in, it'll hold a little bit better. Okay, so put a couple of those grooves in. Don't have to be anything fancy, you're not going to see it anyway. Okay, get some grooves, some markings on there, things like that. I mean, you can really get into that a lot if you wanted to. Alright, so what we're going to do now is make sure that this seats well, and once we get the pine pitch in there, I'm going to hit this a little bit. We're going to glue this in. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm grabbing some pine pitch right here. We'll talk about pine pitch in another video, but I like to put pine pitch on pieces of fat wood, and I carry it in my kit a lot. And pine pitch is just basically, it's pine sap mixed with some things, and it gets really hard. The good thing with it is you can heat it up quite quickly, and it doesn't take much heat. It'll burn real good as far as for a fire extender, and it'll also act as a glue. So I want to just grab something here that I can use a stick to smear this into our piece of antler. So I'm going to actually light a candle so I can work back and forth and keep this stuff hot. So basically with this pine pitch, like I said, it doesn't take much. You can either melt it or it might catch fire. If it catches fire, you can just blow it out. It's going to get real gooey. We're going to use that. As you can see, that really goes up in flames. So if you need an extender, any kind of coal extender, anything like that, and I'm actually going to just start to work my piece in there. You can see that black resin just burning off there. So we're going to get a whole bunch of this on our piece. Start to work it in a little bit. Get it in there. Work it in there real good. Alright. It'll stay, for the most part, it's going to stay pretty workable the whole time you're doing this. So I really want to get this filled up in here though, so get a good strong bond. So move this out of the way. Alright, so we got that set. Now I'm actually going to be bringing that back out. Just going to give it a couple hits. Make sure it's good and seated in there. Sorry if the camera's bouncing around a little bit. Okay. Work that in with my finger. As it starts to harden up, it gets almost like a putty type consistency. So I'm going to work that around. It's good and solid. I'm actually going to bring this out. I should have never blown this out. We're actually going to put a little bit extra around here. Now again, if you're really concerned, you can use an epoxy or anything like that modern day, but I'm going to use what we got with us today. So gonna get that around. Get a pretty good amount. And the good thing with this, like I said, I put it on this pine pitch. You can use it to extend your fire, but you have it with you. It re-hardens back up, you know, and it's not taking up too much room. I always carry a little container of this in my backpack also. So we're getting that on there. Hook it on pretty good. I'm going to give it one more good heating right over this, just to warm it up a little bit, get my fingerprints off it so it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, so that's it. That's our moccasin awl. Thanks for joining us, guys. Stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.